Right. Okay. What I want to start off with is tell you that we all are at a different place on the journey. Now, I've been painting in this style for half a century, and I am still learning. And my teacher, Ju, who died in his 90th year, he said to me, "Oh, Virginia, I am still learning." So feel free to know that you are on the journey. There is no end point. You're always increasing your knowledge of the strokes, your capability of the strokes, and I want to show you the sort of work I do. This is practice work. So you shouldn't be intimidated if it looks like I can paint these birds. It means I have practiced them many, many times. So I'm going to go to share screen now, and you should be able to look down onto my table here. And here are the brushes that I'm going to be using. And as you can see, I've got one fairly small, thin brush, and I'm going to use that mostly for the beak, the eye, and the leg. I can get a nice thin line with that. This one, I think this is a peony. Yes, this is from Blue Heron Arts. This is a small peony pro brush. And if I open it up, and I'll come in a bit. There we go. If I open it up, you'll see that it has dark hair inside. The white on the outside, that's what holds the moisture on the brush. So you can paint more strokes before it goes dry. The ones in the middle, that's the springy part, and that's what gives you beautiful spontaneous strokes. All right, so I'm right-handed, so everything is on my right side. I have black ink, and I'm using this ink. I think it came from Oriental Art Supply. It works well. It's a relatively cheap ink, and you can re-wet it, although after a while it gets a bit gooey. You could be grinding your ink, and that's absolutely fine. I'm 78 and I don't have that many more years to grind ink, so I would rather start painting immediately. Here I have, in addition to my black ink, I have something that I can mix the ink on. And here I'm going to be using mostly brown for the birds, the head and the back, as you can see. That's mostly brown. What I'm doing right now is I am getting the brush, it's wet, the brush is wet, and I'm going back side to side with a little bit of black on it so that it will get a nice amount of black on the brush. It will, at the moment, it's about halfway up, and that's as much as I need. Now, chances are I've got too much water on the brush. So, you know, a discarded painting, whatever, just use it to see how much color you've got on. Now, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, it's spreading perhaps a little bit too much. So I'm going to add a little bit more gray. Sorry, I'm going to add a little bit more black to the gray and try that. Yeah, okay. So you can see I can get a much sharper line now. I do recommend always trying your brush out on a piece of scrap paper before you put it on your masterpiece. I'm going to show you the closed beak first. I'm going to do it fairly large so that you get an idea. Okay. think calligraphy strokes each time. Don't sort of hesitate and try to draw it. That's the top beak, and there's the bottom. You'll notice that the top beak is always shorter because this is where the jaw is. This is the jaw. Think about your mouth. And here's your mouth. It is open. So where is your jaw hinged? It's hinged at the back. It's not hinged by the nose. Birds are exactly the same as humans. The jaw extends to here, the jawbone, all the way back. But because, like us, it's got skin over it, you can't see the jaw going all the way back. So just 3 lines, like that. And then the eye, and see, I'm going back just to make sure I've got the color right. I'm dabbing it on my paper. The eye needs to go above that center line. When you think about it, is your eye, your personal eye, in your chin? No, it's not in your chin. It's above the mouth. So this is where the eye is going to go. So if you continued that line, you would see it's above the middle line of the beak. In other words, where the jaw opens. You know, you can imagine the jaw is probably going to go all the way back to there. A lot of artists put a little bit of emphasis on the top there. It's like your brow. Birds also have a little bit of a brow. And I'm rinsing off my brush. Now I could switch to the bigger brush now. And all right, let's live dangerously. So I'm switching to the bigger brush. I've put water on it. So now I need some of this brown. Need quite a bit of brown. I think that colors have become less intense. I don't mostly use chips these days because they don't mix very well with the tubes. It's different chemical composition. So as you see, I'm going back to my source of brown, and Marie's tubes are fine. Then I'm going back here and I'm mixing it. You can do that. Don't feel that you need to rush. After all, what we're wanting to do is forget about our cares and the busyness of life. So I think that's probably enough for the head. So the head is going to go up like that. The head is round. So that's the skull of the bird. So I'm going to continue with the bird pattern, the composition of the bird. I'm going to put just a touch of black on the brush, just so that I have a little variation in tone. So the shoulder, this bird is looking over its shoulder. You could do the head pointing in the same direction as the rest of the body, but then it's a bit static. When you see the bird looking over there, you want to know So what's over there? And that's where you put your next point of focus, is over there. So it will have a bit of neck, and then all in one stroke, like that. Now there you've got partly some back showing as well. Next thing is, and I'm prepping the brush again. I haven't washed off the brown because I don't want stark black. I want to have maybe a little bit of variation. So the belly, which you're going to see mostly of the bird, is going to be here. So these feathers, they're going to be dark feathers. I'm going to have that. Very simple. Don't try to put in, I forget how many feathers the birds have, but it's dozens and dozens. And if you start putting in that many feathers, it gets too busy. Rinse your brush off. And what I want is a little gray on the brush. Now, there are two ways of doing the belly. And one is, this bird is facing the other way, but one is a full stroke, full volume stroke, and the other way is to create a little bit of an outline there. It's easier to do it this way, so I recommend you do it this way. There you go. As you see, very pale, and when it dries it's going to be even paler, so maybe a touch more black in there. This is why you practice, is because you might go, I think this is all right, and then you put the brush on the paper and you go, oh, much too dark. So here's the neck of the bird, and then the shoulder is there, then the other shoulder will be there. So look about where you're going to go. So I've done that in 3 strokes, the neck, and then the belly with the shoulder, and then it curves round. Now you can see that this is a little higher than this. This is deliberate because I don't know when I'm putting those on where the belly is going to go. So if it's a little higher, then I can add a few feathers or lengthen those feathers. Now, the feet. I bet you're all wondering how to do the feet. And I will explain. The feet are in a triangle. If you have your feet here, then the point of the triangle that you want to meet is more or less the middle of the chest. They call it the heart. You know, whether the heart's on the right or the left and which way the bird is looking doesn't matter, but it's basically in the center of the breast there. So if you're going to draw it, I'll show you. That way the bird is balanced. Now it could have a wider stance, or it could be, no, I wouldn't make it any narrower than that, because it's like a 3-legged stool. It needs to have the balance. The reason for that is if you get the feet in the right place, your bird will look okay. If you put the feet over here or all the way over here, the bird will look unbalanced. So I've switched to my smaller brush because it's feet, and I am putting some color on. Just give it a bit of a mix there. And again, I'm going to check that I don't have too much moisture. So, okay, here's the center. So this foot is going to be slightly outside this line. The other one, and again, there's your center. About there, I think. And it could, the claws could curl that way, or they could curl that way. I think we'll have them go that way. So. Doesn't, you know, doesn't matter too much which way you're doing these. Just make sure they look sort of foot-like. All right. Now, we need something for the bird to sit on. Yeah. I'm mixing a little bit of indigo blue and light lemony yellow. And put a little bit more indigo in there. And rinsing off. It's always good to rinse off. The reason you rinse off is because if, as you've been mixing, the color goes all the way up the brush, then you won't have any gradation of color. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it more on the tip now, and I will put a little bit of black on as well. So I've now got three colors. I've got sort of a light lemony yellow, I've got the blue, which will make it a darker green, and then black. So this is just, you know, whatever. Is it bamboo? Is it whatever? It doesn't matter. But what I need to do is figure out how it's going to go. So if it's horizontal to the bottom of your paper, you want a branch that is not completely horizontal. You want something that comes in here and goes up there. Otherwise, it's a bit boring, it's a bit flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I'm just diddling with the brush. I'm just making up stuff here. So we see that this is quite high now. So what I'm going to need to do is add some more feathers here. And, you know, we can also say that the tail is going off there. Every painting, as my teacher would say, is a living thing. So each stroke tells you where you want to put the next stroke. So here we go. So now we've got the tail, and the tail can come straight down. I'll move this up a bit. The tail could come straight down like that, or it could come at an angle. It's really up to you and how you think it looks. And I'm also going to add, since this is sort of a sparrowy bird, I'm going to add some dots there. All right, I'm rinsing off my brush again. I've still got the big brush, and the underneath is usually grey, the underneath of the tail. So it's going to come, I think, to about here. And there's going to be a V like that. And I can have the tail in brown feathers or black feathers. I like black, actually. It's rather daring. Now, if you find that the breast and belly is too plain, too white, you can add very lightly a little bit of grey. And you don't want a very wet brush. See what I've done with my brush? I've opened it up. So if you want, that will dry very, very light. You could make it even a little darker here if you want. You could also put a colour in here. Birds often have a colour up there. I won't right now because I want to keep it simple for you. Only thing left is to colour in the beak and the eye. And what I've got here is lemon yellow and then a little bit of orange on top. So we've got one bird that's facing that way. So now we want another bird that's facing that way. And if one bird has its mouth open, then the other one could have its mouth closed. If both have their mouth closed, there's no conversation. So make at least one bird have an open mouth. The head is going to be facing that way because the other bird is facing that way. So I'm going to have the beak going that way. Apparently I've already painted the beak on my hand. I'll get that off. And then the body will be angled. You can do it straight down, but I like more of an angle for it. So here we go. Beak first, middle line, top line. See how I pressed in there? That's the calligraphic nature of the stroke. Now we're going to open the mouth, and you can do it straight off like that, but actually most birds, when they open their beaks to sing or to eat, they will have a little bit of an extension there, and that is actually a skin flap. And so the rest of the beak, I must hold my brush upright for this. So if I were to put little dots, you see that's the top line, that's the center line. The bones are out here somewhere. So that means that the eye will actually look a bit lower. So So you remember I did the circle first and then the iris, leaving a little space there for the white of the eye that will show you the direction that the bird is looking. And if it closes, that doesn't matter, just get out a little bit of white and add white to that. So now the head, remember it's round. It's going to go down there. And the neck is going to be there. So I'm rinsing off my brush. And I could use the big brush or I could use the small brush. You may find it easier using the small brush, and that's absolutely fine. Use what you're comfortable with. All right, so brush is more or less upright, but you are going to make it lean a bit. You're going to start off fairly upright and then you're going to lean it like that. So that's probably the most difficult stroke. So the back, I'm going to angle like that. And the head, the back of the head, the back of the neck, and you think about it, your neck is attached to your backbone. So we want a bit of the shoulder coming out here. You don't want this line to be here, because that would mean that your head, the bird's head has swiveled round and is now on its shoulder. You don't want that. So I'm putting brown on my brush, freshening that up, a little bit of black just to darken it. And then I'm going to go here and trace it with your hand, or even put a dot. If you think to yourself, well, I really do want to aim for here, then put a dot. No reason not to. So that's 2 strokes. And then, so the backbone actually is here. And it's spreading a lot, so I'm going to take off a bit of the moisture. Probably because I didn't check my brush first, which I should have done, but I didn't. Okay, so now I'm going to put black on top of that brown, so it is not a totally dark wing. And I'm going to go here, and the wing is going to go here. And then you're going to be seeing a little bit of the belly. And then you'll see a little bit on the other side. We will adjust that after we put the tail in. Now the backbone, okay, it's coming down here. So the tail can be brown or it can be black. Brush pretty upright. This is where the foot is going to be. And here, you could color it in, or you could just do that. So you've got the line for the neck. I'm switching brushes. And putting black on my small brush. Again, the minute you rinse the brush off, remember that you've got a lot of moisture on it. So that's when you need to go back. All right, so the bird is standing like that, and what you need to remember is the foot is not going to come out further than the breast line. So if that's as far out as the breast line goes, then the foot needs to be about here. And the other one is hidden by the body. So I'm going to give it some of those spots. And so here you can see, if you followed a line because this is facing it, this is angled this way, so the branch is going to be like that. So that means the branch is going to come out here. So what I usually do is I have the other bird a little bit higher, facing this one, there, and then this one will be a little lower. And I would start actually with this pose, because this one is on this side of the branch. So let's get a little bit of color on the brush. Again, I'm using what I already created, this strange greenish color. I'll add a little bit more indigo to that. And then a little touch of black. And remember, the belly is going to be fairly wet. So I'm just dabbing it on my paper towel. All right. So, going to go that way. All right. I'm just diddling here. We need to color the beak and the eye. So I've got the yellow and then a little bit of orange on the tip. Now, because the tip has the orange on, I'm going to start at the end of the beak. And then fill in the eye. If you feel like coloring that, you could, but actually it's better to have that white space. It's the same with that. On some birds, you see, I tried color like that. Yeah, it's all right, but actually it's better just left, because that has the energy in it. Okay. Questions, answers, whatever.
Well, it's just as easy as that.
I have a question.
Yes, doesn't she make it look easy?
Yeah.
I don't know enough to ask questions.
I have a question. When you
Yes.
first started drawing birds, did you study their anatomy? Because you're showing us everything and the parts and how things go together.
This book, it's written by John Law's Drawing Birds book. And he is amazingly accurate. The thing is that this shows you how the bird is anatomically, and then you have to forget that, because Chinese birds are spirit. They are the essence of flight. So you need to know, well, if the wings like this, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. Or if the feet are out there, it's doing the splits. You need to learn those things, but then you need to move on from that into the Asian style. If that's what you're doing, you know, if you look at Western watercolorists, they may be very, very accurate, and that's lovely. But if what you want to do is paint the idea, then you need to forget that and become almost cartoony in what you're doing, because you want to get that spirit out. Any more questions? Oh, come on. I'm sure you do.
I'm intrigued by your work room.
Oh, yes. Isn't it lovely?
The back cutter in the back.
This is why we bought the house. The
What?
studio is 7 feet by 26.
Whoa.
Yes, yes. It was a Florida room. And I said, right, this one's my studio. So I'll take you on a little tour. Here I have an easel, and sometimes I paint standing up at an easel. At the moment, you can see that grey thing underneath. That's a sheet of metal, so that these magnets will hold whatever sheet I want there, so that if I want to move it around, I can do that. I don't have to tape it. I don't have to push pin or anything. That's what I do. I also have that down where I am working, which you already saw. Then here is my very, very messy paints and brushes. I know there are some painters and teachers who are really neat and tidy. I never learned that lesson. I'm just messy. I see a little scrap of paper and 2 inches of space on my painting table. I think, ooh, I could do something with that. That's just you know, that's who I am. And then I have a beautiful view out of my window. And in the back there, I have mat board and glass and framing stuff. And I did that for, I don't know, 30 years of matting and framing. And as I said earlier, life is getting shorter. So now what I want to do is paint. And I want to pass it on to lovely folks like you, so that you know how to do this. And I'm passing on the heritage that I got from my teacher. And this is what I want to do. So I'm not cutting mats, I'm not cutting glass, I'm not doing exhibitions, I'm just doing this and loving it. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you create. And I will make photos of what I made for you today, so that you get those as models, so that if you want to see what they look like and copy those. Copying is absolutely fine. It's one of the steps in the journey, and it's fully recognized in all traditional Chinese and Japanese painting. Is you copy the masters, because hey, those are the masters. That's why you're copying them. After a while, you find your own voice, and that's what you will do as well. And some of you, I'm sure, already have found them. And here you are increasing your vocabulary by watching videos like what I've just given you. So any other questions? Or shall I say goodbye and you will get to work?